Please take my clothes as a gift." The thief was bewildered. He took the clothes and slunk away. Ryokan sat naked watching the moon. "Poor fellow," he mused. "I wish I could give him this beautiful moon." The Zen master Hoshin lived in China many years. Then he returned to the northeastern part of Japan where he taught his disciples. When he was getting very old, he told them a story he had heard in China. This is the story. One year, on the 25th of December, Tokufu, who was very old, said to his disciples, "I'm not going to be alive next year, so you fellows should treat me well this year." The pupils thought he was joking, but since he was a great-hearted teacher, each of them in turn treated him to a feast on succeeding days of the departing year. On the eve of the new year, Tokufu concluded, "You have been good to me. I shall leave you tomorrow afternoon when the snow has stopped." The disciples laughed, thinking he was aging and talking nonsense since the night was clear and without snow. But at midnight, snow began to fall, and the next day they did not find their teacher about. They went to the meditation hall. There he had passed on. Hoshin, who related this story, told his disciples, "It is not necessary for a Zen master to predict his passing, but if he really wishes to do so, he can." "Can you?" someone asked. "Yes," answered Hoshin. "I will show you what I can do 7 days from now." None of the disciples believed him, and most of them had even forgotten the conversation when Hoshin called them together. "7 days ago," he remarked, "I said I was going to leave you. It is customary to write a farewell poem, but I am neither a poet nor calligrapher. Let one of you inscribe my last words." His followers thought he was joking, but one of them started to write. "Are you ready?" Hoshin asked. "Yes, sir," replied the writer. Then Hoshin dictated, "I came from brilliancy and return to brilliancy. What is this?" The poem was 1 line short of the customary 4, so the disciple said, "Master, we are 1 line short." Hoshin, with the roar of a conquering lion, shouted, "Ka!" and was gone. The exquisite Shunke, whose other name was Suzu, was compelled to marry against her wishes when she was quite young. Later, after this marriage had ended, she attended the university where she studied philosophy. To see Shunke was to fall in love with her. Moreover, wherever she went, she herself fell in love with others. Love was with her at the university, and afterwards, when philosophy did not satisfy her and she visited a temple to learn about Zen, the Zen students fell in love with her. Shunke's whole life was saturated with love. At last in Kyoto, she became a real student of Zen. Her brothers in the sub-temple of Kinnin praised her sincerity. One of them proved to be a congenial spirit and assisted her in the mastery of Zen. The abbot of Kinnin, Mukurai, Silent Thunder, was severe. He kept the precepts himself and expected his priests to do so. In modern Japan, whatever zeal these priests have lost for Buddhism, they seem to have gained for taking wives. Mukurai used to take a broom and chase the women away when he found them in any of his temples, but the more wives he swept out, the more seemed to come back. In this particular temple, the wife of the head priest became jealous of Shunke's earnestness and beauty. Hearing the students praise her serious Zen made this wife squirm and itch. Finally, she spread a rumor about Shunke and the young man who was her friend. As a consequence, he was expelled, and Shunke was removed from the temple. "I may have made the mistake of love," thought Shunke, "but the priest's wife shall not remain in the temple either if my friend is to be treated so unjustly." Shunke the same night with a can of kerosene set fire to the 500-year-old temple and burned it to the ground. In the morning she found herself in the hands of the police. A young lawyer became interested in her and endeavored to make her sentence lighter. "Do not help me," she told him. "I might decide to do something else which would only imprison me again." At last a sentence of 7 years was completed, and Shunke was released from the prison, where the 60-year-old warden also had become enamored of her. Now everyone looked upon her as a jailbird. No one would associate with her. Even the Zen people who were supposed to believe in enlightenment in this life and with this body shunned her. Zen, Shunke found, was one thing, and the followers of Zen quite another. Her relatives would have nothing to do with her. She grew sick, poor, and weak. She met a Shinsu priest who taught her the name of the Buddha of love, and in this Shunke found some solace and peace of mind. She passed away when she was still exquisitely beautiful and hardly 30 years old. She wrote her own story in a futile endeavor to support herself, and some of it she told to a woman writer, so it reached the Japanese people. Those who rejected Shunke, those who slandered and hated her, now read of her life with tears of remorse. In Tokyo in the Meiji era, there lived two prominent teachers of opposite characteristics. One, Unsho, an instructor in Shingon, kept Buddha's precepts scrupulously. He never drank intoxicants, nor did he eat after 11 o'clock in the morning. The other teacher, Tanzan, a professor of philosophy at the Imperial University, never observed the precepts. When he felt like eating, he ate, and when he felt like sleeping in the daytime, he slept. One day Unsho visited Tanzan, who was drinking wine at the time, not even a drop of which is supposed to touch the tongue of a Buddhist. "Hello, brother," Tanzan greeted him. "Won't you have a drink?" "I never drink," exclaimed Unsho solemnly. "For one who does not drink is not even human," said Tanzan. "Do you mean to call me inhuman just because I do not indulge in intoxicating liquids?" exclaimed Unsho in anger. "Then if I am not human, what am I?" "A Buddha," answered Tanzan.
When exploring new credit cards, you should know what you're getting into. With hundreds of offers, Credit Karma curates relevant options for you and shows you approval odds, so it's easier to find your way to the right card for you. Intuit Credit Karma.
Shoun became a teacher of Soto Zen. When he was still a student, his father passed away, leaving him to care for his old mother. Whenever Shoun went to a meditation hall, he always took his mother with him. Since she accompanied him when he visited monasteries, he could not live with the monks. So he would build a little house and care for her there. He would copy sutras, Buddhist verses, and in this manner receive a few coins for food. "I think I will become a Sanzen also." "Wait a while," said Mokurai. "You're too young." But the child insisted, so the teacher finally consented. In the evening, little Toyo went at the proper time to the threshold of Mokurai's Sanzen room. He struck the gong to announce his presence, bowed respectfully 3 times outside the door, and went to sit before the master in respectful silence. "You can hear the sound of 2 hands when they clap together," said Mokurai. "Now show me the sound of 1 hand." Toyo bowed and went to his room to consider this problem. From his window he could hear the music of the geishas. "Ah, I have it," he proclaimed. The next evening, when his teacher asked him to illustrate the sound of 1 hand, Toyo began to play the music of the geishas. No, said Mokurai, "that will never do. That is not the sound of 1 hand. You've not got it at all." Thinking that such music might interrupt, Toyo moved his abode to a quiet place. He meditated again. What can the sound of 1 hand be? He happened to hear some water dripping. "I have it," imagined Toyo. When he next appeared before his teacher, Toyo imitated dripping water. "What is that?" asked Mokurai. "That is the sound of dripping water, but not the sound of 1 hand. Try again." In vain, Toyo meditated to hear the sound of 1 hand. He heard the sighing of the wind, but the sound was rejected. He heard the cry of an owl. This also was refused. The sound of 1 hand was not the locusts. For more than 10 times, Toyo visited Mokurai with different sounds. All were wrong. For almost a year, he pondered what the sound of 1 hand might be. At last, little Toyo entered true meditation and transcended all sounds. "I could collect no more," he explained later, "so I reached the soundless sound." Toyo had realized the sound of 1 hand. Soyen Shaku, the first Zen teacher to come to America, said, "My heart burns like fire, but my eyes are as cold as dead ashes." He made the following rules, which he practiced every day of his life. incense and meditate. Retire at a regular hour. Partake of food at regular intervals. Eat with moderation and never to the point of satisfaction. Receive a guest with the same attitude you have when alone. When alone, maintain the same attitude you have when receiving guests. Watch what you say, and whatever you say, practice it. When an opportunity comes, do not let it pass by, yet always think twice before acting. Do not regret the past, look to the future. Have the fearless attitude of a hero, and the loving heart of a child. Upon retiring, sleep as if you had entered your last sleep. Upon awakening, leave your bed behind you instantly, as if you would cast away a pair of old shoes. When Aishun, the Zen nun, was past 60 and about to leave this world, she asked some monks to pile up wood in the yard. Funeral pyre. She had it set fire around the edges. Oh, none shall there. Such a matter would concern only a stupid person like yourself, answered Aishun. Flames arose, and she passed away. A farmer requested a Tendai priest to recite sutras for his wife who had died. After the recitation was over, the farmer asked, "Do you think my wife will gain merit from this?" "Not only your wife, but all sentient beings will benefit from the recitation of sutras," answered the priest. "If you say all sentient beings will benefit," said the farmer, "my wife may be very weak and others will take advantage of her, getting the benefit she should have. So please, recite sutras just for her." The priest explained that it was the desire of a Buddhist to offer blessings and wish merit for every living being. "That is a fine teaching," concluded the farmer, "but please make one exception. I have a neighbor who is rough and mean to me. Just exclude him from all those sentient beings." Suiwo, the disciple of Hakuin, was a good teacher. During one summer seclusion period, a pupil came to him from a southern island of Japan. Suiwo gave him a problem. Hear the sound of one hand. The pupil remained 3 years but could not pass this test. One night he came in tears to Suiwo. "I must return south in shame and embarrassment," he said, "for I cannot solve my problem." "Wait 1 week more and meditate constantly," advised Suiwo. Still no enlightenment came to the pupil. "Try for another week," said Suiwo. The pupil obeyed, but in vain. Still another week, yet this was of no avail. In despair, the student begged to be released, but Suiwo requested another meditation of 5 days. They were without result. Then he said, "Meditate for 3 days longer. Then if you fail to attain enlightenment, you had better kill yourself." On the second day, the pupil was enlightened. Provided he makes and wins an argument about Buddhism with those who live there, any wandering monk can remain in the Zen temple. If he is defeated, he has to move on. In a temple in the northern part of Japan, 2 brother monks were dwelling together. The elder one was learned, but the younger one was stupid and had but one eye. A wandering monk came and asked for lodging, properly challenging them to a debate about the sublime teaching. The elder brother, tired that day from much studying, told the younger one to take his place. "Go and request the dialogue in silence," he cautioned. So the young monk and the stranger went to the shrine and sat down. Shortly afterwards, the traveler rose and went into the elder brother and said, "Your young brother is a wonderful fellow. He defeated me." "Relate the dialogue to me," said the elder one. "Well," explained the traveler, "first I held up one finger, representing Buddha, the enlightened one. So he held up 2 fingers, signifying Buddha and his teaching. I held up 3 fingers, representing Buddha, his teaching, and his followers living the harmonious life. Then he shook his clenched fist in my face, indicating that all 3 come from one realization. Thus he won, and so I have no right to remain here." With this, the traveler left. "Where's that fellow?" asked the younger one, running into his elder brother. "I understand you won the debate." "Won nothing. I'm going to beat him up." "Tell me the subject of the debate," asked the elder one. "Why, the minute he saw me, he held up one finger, insulting me by insinuating that I have only one eye. Since he was a stranger, I thought I would be polite to him, so I held up 2 fingers, congratulating him that he has 2 eyes. Then the impolite wretch held up 3 fingers, suggesting that between us we only have 3 eyes. So I got mad and started to punch him, but he ran out and that ended it." After Bankei had passed away, a blind man who lived near the master's temple told a friend, "Since I'm blind, I cannot watch a person's face, so I must judge his character by the sound of his voice. Ordinarily, when I hear someone congratulate another upon his happiness or success, I also hear a secret tone of envy. When condolence is expressed for the misfortune of another, I hear pleasure and satisfaction, as if the one condoling was really glad there was something left to gain in his own world. In all my experience, however, Bankei's voice was always sincere. Whenever he expressed happiness, I heard nothing but happiness, and whenever he expressed sorrow, sorrow was all I heard. Keichu, the great Zen teacher of the Meiji era, was the head of Tofuku, the cathedral in Kyoto. One day the governor of Kyoto called upon him for the first time. His attendant presented the card of the governor, which read, Kitagaki, governor of Kyoto. I have no business with such a fellow, said Keichu to his attendant. Tell him to get out of here. The attendant carried the card back with apologies. That was my error, said the governor, and with a pencil he scratched out the words, Governor of Kyoto. Ask your teacher again. Oh, is that Kitagaki? Exclaimed the teacher when he saw the card. I want to see that fellow. When Banzan was walking through a market, he overheard a conversation between a butcher and his customer. Give me the best piece of meat you have, said the customer. Everything in my shop is the best, replied the butcher. You cannot find here any piece of meat that is not the best. At these words, Banzan became enlightened. Mokusen Hiki was living in a temple in the province of Tamba. One of his adherents complained of the stinginess of his wife. Mokusen visited the adherent's wife and showed her his clenched fist before her face. What do you mean by that? Asked the surprised woman. Suppose my fist were always like that. What would you call it? He asked. Deformed, replied the woman. Then he opened his hand flat in her face and asked, Suppose it were always like that. What then? Another kind of deformity, said the wife. If you understand that much, finished Mokusen, you are a good wife. Then he left. After his visit, this wife helped her husband to distribute as well as to save. Mokugen was never known to smile until his last day on earth. When his time came to pass away, he said to his faithful ones, You have studied under me for more than 10 years. Show me a real interpretation of Zen. Whoever expresses this most clearly shall be my successor and receive my robe and bowl. Everyone watched Mokugen's severe face, but no one answered. Incho, a disciple who had been with his teacher for a long time, moved near the bedside. He pushed forward the medicine cup a few inches. This was his answer to the command. The teacher's face became even more severe. Is that all you understand? He asked. Encho reached out and moved the cup back again. A beautiful smile broke over the features of Mokugen. You rascal, he told Encho. You have worked with me 10 years and have not yet seen my whole body. Take the robe and bowl. They belong to you. Zen students are with their masters at least 10 years before they presume to teach others. Nan-in was visited by Tenno, who, having passed his apprenticeship, had become a teacher. The day happened to be rainy, so Tenno wore wooden clogs and carried an umbrella. After greeting him, Nan-in remarked, I suppose you left your wooden clogs in the vestibule. I want to know if your umbrella is on the right or left side of the clogs. Tenno, confused, had no instant answer. He realized that he was unable to carry his Zen every minute. He became Nan-in's pupil, and he studied 6 more years to accomplish his every minute Zen. Subhuti was Buddha's disciple. He was able to understand the potency of emptiness, the viewpoint that nothing exists except in its relationship of subjectivity and objectivity. One day, Subhuti, in a mood of sublime emptiness, was sitting under a tree. Flowers began to fall about him. We are praising you for your discourse on emptiness, the gods whispered to him. But I have not spoken of emptiness, said Subhuti. You have not spoken of emptiness. We have not heard emptiness, responded the gods. This is the true emptiness. And blossoms showered upon Subhuti as rain. Gisho was ordained as a nun when she was 10 years old. She received training just as the little boys did. When she reached the age of 16, she traveled from one Zen master to another, studying with them all. She remained trained 3 years with Unzan, 6 years with Guke, but was unable to obtain a clear vision. At last she went to the master, Inzan. Inzan showed her no distinction at all on account of her sex. He scolded her like a thunderstorm. He cuffed her to awaken her inner nature. Gisho remained with Inzan 13 years, and then she found that which she was seeking. In her honor, Inzan wrote a poem. This nun studied 13 years under my guidance. In the evening, she considered the deepest koans. In the morning, she was wrapped in other koans. The Chinese nun Tetsuma surpassed all before her, and since Mujaku, none has been so genuine as this Gisho. Yet there are many more gates for her to pass through. She should receive still more blows from my iron fist. After Gisho was enlightened, she went to the province of Banshu, started her own Zen temple, and taught 200 other nuns, until she passed away 1 year in the month of August. The master Soyen Shaku passed from this world when he was 61 years of age. Fulfilling his life's work, he left a great teaching, far richer than that of most Zen masters. His pupils used to sleep in the daytime during midsummer, and while he overlooked this, he himself never wasted a minute. When he was but 12 years old, he was already studying Tendai philosophical speculation. One summer day, the air had been so sultry that little Soyen stretched his legs and went to sleep while his teacher was away. 3 hours passed when, suddenly waking, he heard his master enter, but it was too late. There he lay, sprawled across the doorway. "I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon," his teacher whispered, stepping carefully over Soyen's body, as if it were that of some distinguished guest. After this, Soyen never slept again in the afternoon. Our schoolmaster used to take a nap every afternoon related to a disciple of Soyen Shaku. We children asked him why he did it, and he told us, "I go to dreamland to meet the old sages just as Confucius did." When Confucius slept, he would dream of ancient sages and later tell his followers about them. It was extremely hot one day, so some of us took a nap. Our schoolmaster scolded us. "We went to dreamland to meet the ancient sages, the same as Confucius did," we explained. "What was the message from those sages?" our schoolmaster demanded. One of us replied, "We went to dreamland and met the sages and asked them if our schoolmaster came there every afternoon, but they said they had never seen any such fellow." Joshu began the study of Zen when he was 60 years old and continued until he was 80 when he realized Zen. He taught from the age of 80 until he was 120. A student once asked him, "If I haven't anything in my mind, what shall I do?" Joshu replied, "Throw it out." "But if I haven't anything, how can I throw it out?" continued the questioner. "Well," said Joshu, "then carry it out." When Mamiya, who later became a well-known preacher, went to a teacher for personal guidance, he was asked to explain the sound of one hand. Mamiya concentrated upon what the sound of one hand might be. "You're not working hard enough," his teacher told him. "You are too attached to food, wealth, things, and that sound. It would be better if you died. That would solve the problem." The next time Mamiya appeared before his teacher, he was again asked what he had to show regarding the sound of one hand. Mamiya at once fell over as if he were dead. "You're dead, all right," observed the teacher. "But how about that sound?" "I haven't solved that yet," replied Mamiya, looking up. "Dead men do not speak," said the teacher. "Get out." Tosui was a well-known Zen teacher at this time. He had lived in several temples and taught in various provinces. The last temple he visited accumulated so many adherents that Tosui told them he was going to quit the lecture business entirely. He advised them to disperse and to go wherever they desired. After that, no one could find any trace of him. 3 years later, one of his disciples discovered him living with some beggars under a bridge in Kyoto. He at once implored Tosui to teach him. "If you can do as I do for even a couple of days, I might," Tosui replied. So the former disciple dressed as a beggar and spent a day with Tosui. The following day, one of the beggars died. Tosui and his pupil carried the body off at midnight and buried it on a mountainside. After that, they returned to their shelter under the bridge. Tosui slept soundly the remainder of the night, but the disciple could not sleep. When morning came, Tosui said, "We do not have to beg food today. Our dead friend has left some over there." But the disciple was unable to eat a single bite of it. I've said you could not do as I, concluded Tosui. Get out of here and do not bother me again. When Bankei held his seclusion weeks of meditation, pupils from many parts of Japan came to attend. During one of these gatherings, a pupil was caught stealing. The matter was reported to Bankei with the request that the culprit be expelled. Bankei ignored the case. Later, the pupil was caught in a similar act, and again Bankei disregarded the matter. This angered the other pupils, who drew up a petition asking for the dismissal of the thief, stating that otherwise they would leave in a body. When Bankei had read the petition, he called everyone before him. You are wise brothers, he told them. You know what is right and what is not right. You may go somewhere else to study if you wish. But this poor brother does not even know right from wrong. Who will teach him if I do not? I'm going to keep him here, even if all the rest of you leave. A torrent of tears cleansed the face of the brother who had stolen. All desire to steal had vanished. During the Kamakura period, Shinkan studied Tendai 6 years and then studied Zen 7 years. Then he went to China and contemplated Zen for 13 years more. When he returned to Japan, many desired to interview him and asked obscure questions. But when Shinkan received visitors, which was infrequently, he seldom answered their questions. One day, a 50-year-old student of enlightenment said to Shinkan, I have studied the Tendai school of thought since I was a little boy, but one thing in it I cannot understand. Tendai claims that even the grass and trees will become enlightened. To me, this seems very strange. Of what use is it to discuss how grass and trees become enlightened, asked Shinkan. The question is, how you yourself can become so. Did you ever consider that? I never thought of it in that way, marveled the old man. Then go home and think it over, finished Shinkan. The Buddhist nun known as Ryonen was born in 1797. She was a granddaughter of the famous Japanese warrior Shingen. Her poetical genius and alluring beauty were such that at 17 she was serving the empress as one of the ladies of the court. Even at such a youthful age, fame awaited her. The beloved empress died suddenly, and Ryonen's hopeful dreams vanished. She became acutely aware of the impermanency of life in this world. It was then that she desired to study Zen. Her relatives disagreed, however, and practically forced her into marriage. With a promise that she might become a nun after she had borne 3 children, Ryonen assented. Before she was 25, she had accomplished this condition. Then her husband and relatives could no longer dissuade her from her desire. She shaved her head, took the name of Ryonen, which means to realize clearly, and started on her pilgrimage. She came to the city of Edo and asked Tetsugyu to accept her as a disciple. At one glance, the master rejected her because she was too beautiful. Ryonen went on to another master, Hakuo. Hakuo refused.